change your life long term. It's raise your standards. Personal power.
Good evening, everyone. Let me ask you a question. How many of you feel like your mind sometimes controls you, that it drives your decisions, your actions, your emotions, your very experience of life? How many times have you found yourself trapped in negative thought loops, battling fear, doubt, or stress, and wondering how you can break free? Well, today I want to share with you a powerful truth. You have the ability to control your mind. You have the ability to shape your thoughts, direct your emotions, and command your life. And when you harness that power, when you learn how to control your mind, everything else in your world transforms. You see, your mind is like a garden. If you leave it unattended, weeds of negativity, fear, and self-doubt will grow. They'll steal your energy, cloud your vision, and limit your potential. But when you take control, when you deliberately plant seeds of positivity, gratitude, and focus, your garden will thrive. Let's take a moment to think about what's happening right now. Your mind is constantly working, thinking, analyzing, interpreting everything around you. Every second, your brain is calculating, assessing, making meaning of what's happening. The question is, who is in charge of that process? You see, most people let their minds run wild. They allow their thoughts to control them. But here's the secret. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who can decide what thoughts to entertain, what thoughts to discard, and which ones to transform. Imagine for a moment that you are a master of your thoughts. Picture yourself in the midst of a storm, surrounded by chaos and challenges, while everyone else is overwhelmed. You remain calm. Why? Because you know that what happens on the outside doesn't dictate your internal experience. You have the power to decide how to react, how to interpret the situation, and that reaction, that decision is where your power lies. Now, how do you gain this control? How do you break free from the shackles of your untrained mind? It begins with awareness. You have to become aware of the thoughts that are running in your mind right now. Are they empowering or disempowering? Are they serving you or holding you back? The next step is to interrupt the pattern. If you notice yourself falling into negative thinking, do something different. Take a deep breath, change your posture, focus on something positive, break the cycle. You are not a passive observer of your thoughts. You are the creator of your reality. The third key is to focus on what you can control. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. You can control what you focus on, what you give your energy to. The truth is, your mind will always go to what you focus on. So if you want to change your life, you must change your focus. And finally, make sure you're feeding your mind with the right information. Your mind, like your body, needs nourishment. Are you filling it with positivity, inspiration, and learning? Or are you consuming fear, negativity, and uncertainty? Choose wisely. What you feed your mind will determine what it produces. Remember this, you have the ability to create your reality. You have the ability to control your thoughts. And when you control your thoughts, you control your life. So today, I challenge you, take charge. Don't let your thoughts run the show. Be the master of your mind, and you will be the master of your destiny. Awareness is the first and most essential step in controlling your mind. It's the starting point for any transformation, because without awareness, we are merely reacting to life rather than actively shaping it. Most people go through their days on autopilot, allowing their thoughts to run unchecked. The mind is like a busy train station, constantly receiving messages, thoughts, and inputs from various sources. It's a swirl of ideas, images, and interpretations, many of which are shaped by our past experiences, emotions, and beliefs. But how often do we pause to notice what's actually going on in our minds? How often do we step back and evaluate the quality of the thoughts we are entertaining? The first step toward mastering your mind is to simply become aware of what you're thinking, feeling, and believing at any given moment. This is not about judgment or trying to control every thought. It's about noticing. The simple act of noticing creates space between between you and your thoughts. It allows you to take a step back and observe almost as if you are watching the thoughts pass by like clouds in the sky without attaching yourself to them or becoming entangled in them. Awareness is the practice of detaching from your automatic reactions and becoming the observer of your own mental processes. You can't change something you don't even know exists. Many people spend years living in a state of unconsciousness, acting based on habitual thought patterns and deeply ingrained beliefs. They operate on default, reacting to external circumstances or internal triggers without any sense of control. This is where so many people fall into negative loops, where fear, doubt, and anxiety are constant companions because they're simply unaware of the thought patterns that create and perpetuate those emotions. For instance, if you think I'm not good enough, without awareness, that thought might dominate your life, influencing how you act, what you believe you deserve, and the opportunities you pursue or avoid. But awareness doesn't just mean noticing your negative thoughts. It's also about identifying your limiting beliefs and the automatic responses you have to certain situations. Think about the stories you tell yourself, those ingrained narratives that run on repeat in your mind. Perhaps you've always believed that success is for other people or that you're not capable of achieving your dreams. Maybe you've carried an inner voice of criticism telling you that you'll never measure up. And over time, you've internalized that voice as truth. Awareness is about shining a light on those hidden beliefs so you can start to recognize them for what they are, old limiting patterns that don't serve you anymore. Once you've become aware of your thoughts and beliefs, you'll begin to notice patterns. It's like looking at a map of your mind, seeing where the paths of negativity, fear, and doubt have been worn into the landscape over time. These thought patterns aren't just isolated incidents. They tend to repeat themselves. The more aware you become of these mental habits, the more you'll begin to realize just how much of your life has been driven by unconscious thoughts. For example, you might realize that whenever you face a challenge, your first instinct is to doubt your abilities. This awareness gives you a choice. You no longer have to just react automatically. Instead, you can begin to question whether this belief is truly valid or whether it's something that's been ingrained through years of conditioning. Another key element of awareness is understanding how your thoughts are influencing your emotions. Thoughts and feelings are intrinsically linked, and by observing how they interact, you begin to understand the deep connection between mind and body. How many times have you had a thought that immediately created a feeling in your body? Perhaps you thought about an upcoming presentation and immediately you felt a knot in your stomach or a rush of anxiety. This connection between thought and emotion is immediate and powerful. If you become more aware of it, you can start to intervene in that process before your emotions run wild. When you notice that your mind is racing with thoughts of fear or worry, the first step is simply acknowledging it. I notice that I am feeling anxious right now, and these thoughts are triggering my anxiety. This awareness is critical because it allows you to understand that you are not the anxiety. You are the one noticing the anxiety. You begin to separate yourself from your emotional state, creating space for choice. And change awareness also allows you to recognize how external stimuli affect your internal state. In today's world, we're bombarded by a constant stream of information. News, social media, advertisements, and other people's opinions. Often, we're unaware of how much these external forces are influencing our thoughts. You might find yourself scrolling through social media and suddenly feel inadequate or dissatisfied with your own life, comparing yourself to others without even realizing that this feeling didn't come from you, it came from the outside world. Once you're aware of this, you can begin to control what you expose your mind to. You can make more conscious choices about what you allow into your mental space. The power of awareness extends beyond just identifying negative or limiting thoughts. It's also about recognizing and celebrating empowering thoughts. What are the thoughts that inspire you, lift you up, and fuel your passion? Awareness doesn't just shine a light on the darkness. It also illuminates the areas of your life where you are empowered, where you are strong, and where you are growing. By focusing on these positive thoughts and reinforcing them, you create new patterns in your mind. You begin to create an environment where positive thoughts are nurtured and cultivated. For instance, if you have the thought, I am capable of achieving my goals, and you are aware of it, you can consciously choose to reinforce that thought. You can take a moment to appreciate your strengths, your past successes, and the steps you've already taken toward your goals. By cultivating this kind of awareness, you shift your mental landscape toward the empowering positive thoughts that move you forward in life. Awareness is a practice. It's not a one-time event where you suddenly become aware and everything changes. It's something you need to nurture daily. It requires you to be present with yourself, to check in with your thoughts and emotions regularly, and to reflect on the narratives you're telling yourself. The more you practice awareness, the more natural it becomes to identify thoughts as they arise, to challenge the ones that limit you, and to reinforce the ones that empower you. Over time, you'll find that your mind is no longer a chaotic, uncontrollable force. It becomes a powerful tool at your disposal. Interrupting the pattern is a critical strategy for taking control of your mind. Many people go through life trapped in the same old cycles of thought and behavior, repeating the same actions, experiencing the same emotions, and finding themselves in the same situations over and over again. These patterns are not random, they are ingrained, automatic responses to external stimuli, past experiences, or limiting beliefs. To break free from these patterns, you must consciously intervene and disrupt the cycle. The moment you realize that your thoughts or actions are leading you down a negative or unproductive path, you can interrupt that pattern and redirect your energy towards something more constructive. Most of us aren't aware of how automatic our mental and emotional responses can be. How many times have you found yourself reacting impulsively to a situation only to regret your response later? It could be a knee-jerk reaction to stress, a pattern of negative self-talk when you face failure, or a habitual emotional response to criticism. These reactions are often triggered by deep-seated beliefs or conditioned behaviors that we've accumulated over time. However, the key to breaking free from them is recognizing them and choosing to interrupt the pattern before it spirals out of control. One of the most effective ways to interrupt the negative pattern is to create an abrupt shift in your physical state. The body and mind are interconnected, and changing your physical state can have a profound impact on your mental and emotional state. If you notice that you are falling into a negative emotional pattern, the first thing you can do is change your physiology. Stand up, take a deep breath, stretch, move your body in a way that feels empowering. This can break the emotional momentum and reset your internal state. For instance, if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, taking a few moments to stretch, jump, or engage in a quick physical exercise can shake off that tension and reset your emotional response. It's amazing how often a simple change in posture or breathing can shift your mental focus. Interrupting the pattern also involves breaking free from automatic thinking. We all have habitual ways of interpreting situations. If you've ever had the experience of assuming the worst outcome in a difficult situation, you are likely operating out of an automatic pattern. For example, if you face a challenging project at work and your immediate thought is, I can't handle this, or I'm going to fail, you're engaging in a negative pattern of thought that is grounded in fear, self-doubt, or past experiences. To interrupt this pattern, you must recognize that this thought is simply a pattern, not the truth. By acknowledging that this thought is just one possible interpretation of the situation, you create space for a new, more empowering thought to take its place. You might choose instead to think, I've handled challenges before, and I am capable of figuring this out. Or, this challenge is an opportunity for growth. The key is not to suppress or deny the negative thought, but to recognize that you have the power to choose a different perspective. Interrupting the pattern doesn't mean eliminating negative thoughts altogether. It means shifting your focus and choosing to respond differently. This simple act of interrupting the flow of negative thinking can create a moment of clarity where new, more positive thoughts can emerge. Another way to interrupt a negative pattern is through the use of questions. Our brains are wired to seek answers to questions. The moment you ask a question, your mind goes into problem-solving mode, actively looking for solutions. So, when you catch yourself falling into a negative or disempowering thought, you can ask yourself a powerful question like, what else could this mean? or how can I make the best of this situation, or what is the opportunity here? The questions redirect your brain away from the default negative responses and towards more constructive solution-oriented thinking. This technique is especially effective in situations where you might be feeling stuck or hopeless. The moment you ask a positive, empowering question, you disrupt the mental loop and open the door to new possibilities. Interrupting patterns also involves recognizing and shifting emotional states. Emotions, like thoughts, are incredibly powerful and can either propel us forward or hold us back. Negative emotions like fear, anger, frustration, and sadness can quickly spiral out of control if left unchecked. When you find yourself in a negative emotional state, it's essential to stop, take a deep breath, and assess what is happening. Often we get so caught up in our emotions that we forget we have the ability to step back and choose how we respond. A great way to interrupt an emotional pattern is to pause and acknowledge the feeling without judgment. Once you've done that, you can then decide how to redirect your energy. For instance, if you're feeling angry or frustrated with someone, instead of immediately reacting, take a moment to breathe and reflect on whether your emotional response is helping the situation. You may ask yourself, what do I really want here? Or how can I express myself in a way that's constructive and empowers me? These questions allow you to step outside of the emotional pattern and make a conscious decision about how you want to respond. You may realize that your anger is based on a misunderstanding or a lack of communication, and by choosing to pause and reflect, you can avoid escalating the situation. Another powerful tool for interrupting patterns is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment without judgment, and it's a technique that can be incredibly effective when trying to break free from automatic mental and emotional patterns. When you practice mindfulness, you stop identifying with your thoughts and emotions. Instead, you observe them from a place of detachment. This allows you to create the space necessary to choose how you respond. By becoming more mindful of your internal state, you become more aware of the patterns that dictate your behavior. This heightened awareness gives you the ability to interrupt the pattern before it spirals into automatic reactions. A practical example of mindfulness in action is during moments of stress or overwhelm if you're facing a situation that triggers anxiety. Mindfulness allows you to observe the anxious thoughts without getting swept away by them. You can notice the thoughts and sensations, but instead of getting caught up in them, you can simply acknowledge them and redirect your focus. You might choose to focus on your breath or redirect your attention to the task at hand, interrupting the anxiety pattern with a more calm response. The final element of interrupting patterns is the idea of taking decisive action. Often, the most effective way to disrupt a negative pattern is to act immediately when you feel stuck or overwhelmed. Taking some form of positive forward-moving action breaks the cycle of indecision or inaction. For example, if you're procrastinating on an important task, instead of waiting for the right moment or for your feelings to change, take one small step toward completing the task. This action interrupts the cycle of avoidance and moves you into a state of progress and momentum. Interrupting patterns is not a one-time effort. It's a continuous process of awareness and choice. The more you practice recognizing and interrupting negative patterns, the easier it becomes to regain control of your mind over time. The skill of pattern interruption becomes second nature, and you find that you're no longer trapped by old behaviors or limiting beliefs. Instead, you create new patterns that serve your highest potential and move you closer to the person you are meant to become. Focusing on what you can control is one of the most powerful ways to regain control of your mind and your life in today's world. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the constant stream of external stimuli, news, social media, work, pressures, and relationships. It's easy to feel like you are at the mercy of circumstances, that your emotions and responses are dictated by things beyond your control. But the truth is, there is so much more in your life that you can control than you may realize. By focusing on the areas that you can influence, you can regain a sense of empowerment, reduce anxiety, and direct your energy toward positive change. At the core of this concept is the idea of distinguishing between what you can control and what you cannot. Often we spend a lot of mental and emotional energy on things that are outside of our control. like other people's actions, the economy, global events, or even the weather. When you focus on things you have no control over, you inadvertently give away your power. You allow those things to determine how you feel and how you act. For example, if you constantly worry about what others think of you, you're allowing their opinions to govern your emotional state. If you're constantly anxious about the state of the world or the future, you're letting things outside of your influence dictate your thoughts and energy. The first step in focusing on what you can control is to recognize that the only thing you can truly control is your own response to any situation. This doesn't mean ignoring external factors or pretending that difficult situations don't exist. It means accepting that you cannot control everything that happens to you, but you have complete control over how you respond. This shift in mindset is incredibly powerful. When you start focusing on your responses rather than the uncontrollable circumstances, you immediately reclaim your personal power. For instance, you may not be able to control what happens at work, but you can control how you react to the challenges you face. You may not be able to control the economy, but you can control how you choose to manage your finances or develop new skills that will empower you. Once you shift your attention to what you can control, you begin to realize just how much autonomy you have in your life. You can control your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your attitude. When you recognize that your thoughts directly shape your emotional state, you begin to understand that you have the power to choose your perspective. If you catch yourself thinking negative thoughts or focusing on the worst possible outcome, you can choose to redirect that, focus towards something more positive. If you notice yourself feeling anxious or fearful, you can take conscious steps to change your emotional state by shifting your focus to what you're grateful for, what you've already accomplished, or the opportunities in front of you. Controlling your responses doesn't mean you suppress or ignore negative emotions. It means you acknowledge them and choose how to engage with them. It's easy to get caught up in the cycle of frustration, stress, or anger when things don't go as planned. But when you focus on controlling how you respond to those emotions, you stop letting them control you. This is particularly important in moments of conflict or stress, rather than reacting impulsively or allowing your emote to dictate your behavior. You can pause, breathe, and choose a response that aligns with your values and goals. One of the most important things you can control is your behavior. You control what actions you take and when you take them. So often we let external factors determine our actions. For instance, you might wait for motivation to take action and rely on circumstances to dictate your next steps. But motivation is fleeting, and circumstances will never align perfectly if you wait for the perfect moment to take action. You could be waiting forever. Instead, focus on controlling your behavior through disciplined action. You can choose to get up, move forward, and take steps toward your goals even when you don't feel like it. By focusing on consistent action, you can move past feelings of uncertainty and self-doubt, make real progress in your life. Another critical area of control is your environment. While you can't control everything around you, you do have the ability to influence your environment, whether it's your physical space, the people you surround yourself with, or the media you consume. You can create an environment that supports your goals and well-being. If you want to be more productive, you can control your workspace by keeping clean and organized. If you want to cultivate a positive mindset, you can control the kind of content you consume, whether that's reading inspiring books, listening to uplifting podcasts, or watching motivational videos. The people you surround yourself with also have a significant impact on your mindset. If you find that certain people drain your energy or encourage negative thinking, you can choose to spend less time with them or set boundaries by curating your environment. You can set yourself up for success. Your health is another area where you have a great deal of control. While you may not be able to control every aspect of your physical body, you have the power to make choices that support your well-being. You can control what you eat, how much you exercise, how much sleep you get, and how you manage stress. Every positive choice you make in these areas empowers you and reinforces your sense of control. When you feel strong and healthy, you are more capable of handling challenges, staying focused, and maintaining a positive attitude. If you focus on nurturing your body, it will give you the energy and resilience you need to take on the world. Focusing on what you can control also means taking responsibility for your life. Many people fall into the trap of blaming others or external circumstances for their problems. While it's true that life can be difficult and unpredictable, shifting the focus to what you can control gives you the agency to take charge of your situation. When you stop blaming and start taking responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you regain your personal power. It's empowering to realize that even in the face of adversity, you have control over your own responses, and that can make all the difference in how you experience life. This focus on control can also help you move past fear and uncertainty. The world is full of unknowns, and it's easy to become paralyzed by fear of the future or anxiety about things beyond your control. However, when you focus on what you can control, fear loses its grip. Instead of worrying about things that may never happen, you put your energy into what you can do today. You can control your mindset, your actions, and your attitude. And those things will shape your future. Rather than getting bogged down by what you can't control, you can take meaningful steps toward creating the future you want. Ultimately, focusing on what you can control is about empowerment. It's about realizing that while you can't control everything in life, you have the ability to shape your experience by taking control of your own responses. When you focus on what you can control, you move from a place of helplessness to a place of strength. You recognize that your thoughts, emotions, actions, and decisions are the true driving forces behind your success and happiness. By taking responsibility for these things, you take back your power and create a life that reflects your deepest desires and values. Feeding your mind is one of the most powerful practices you can engage in to take control of your thoughts and ultimately your life. What you allow into your mind shapes your perceptions, beliefs, and behaviors. The mind is like a garden, and just like a garden, it needs the right kind of nourishment to thrive. If you allow negative, toxic, and limiting thoughts and influences to take root in your mind, that's what you'll grow. But if you feed your mind with positive, empowering, and expansive thoughts and information, you'll cultivate a powerful mental landscape that supports your goals, values, and overall well-being. One of the most essential aspects of feeding your mind is being intentional about what you expose it to. We live in an age of constant information overload, social media, news outlets, advertising, and even conversations with others can flood our minds with messages, many of which are negative, fear-based, or irrelevant to our personal growth. The first step in feeding your mind is recognizing that you have the power to control what you consume. Just like you wouldn't feed your body junk food all the time, you shouldn't feed your mind junk. Thoughts, be discerning about what you read, watch, and listen to. Curate your inputs carefully to ensure they align with the person you want to become and the life you want to live. Feeding your mind means surrounding yourself with ideas, concepts, and content that elevate your thinking. This could include reading books that inspire and challenge you, listening to podcasts that broaden your perspective, watching videos that motivate you, or engaging with thought leaders and mentors who push you to think in new ways. When you choose to fill your mind with knowledge that inspires you and expands your understanding of the world, you plant seeds that will grow into new beliefs, new opportunities, and new ways of thinking. This kind of intellectual nourishment helps you break free from the limitations of your current reality and opens the door to endless possibilities. In addition to consuming empowering content, feeding your mind also involves nurturing your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself has a profound impact on your thoughts, feelings, and actions. How often do you criticize yourself, doubt your abilities, or focus on your flaws? Negative self-talk can be incredibly damaging to your self-esteem and your ability to achieve your goals. But just as you can feed your mind with positive information from external sources, you can also feed your mind with kind, compassionate, and empowering words from within. Start paying attention to the language you use with yourself when you make a mistake or face a challenge. Do you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed, or I'm not capable? Or do you speak to yourself in a way that reflects your potential for growth. Replace self-criticism with self-encouragement. When you make a mistake, tell yourself this is a learning opportunity or I can improve with practice. When you face a challenge, remind yourself that you are resourceful, resilient, and capable of handling whatever comes your way. The way you talk to yourself shapes your beliefs and over time becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you feed your mind with positive, supportive language, you'll start to believe in your own abilities and build the confidence to take action toward your goals. Feeding your mind also means developing a mindset of gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful tool for reshaping your perspective and focusing on the positive aspects of your life. When you feed your mind with gratitude, you shift your focus away from what's missing or lacking and turn your attention toward what's abundant and positive. Gratitude helps you appreciate the small wins, the lessons learned from challenge, the beauty of everyday moments. This shift in perspective can have a profound effect on your mental and emotional state, improving your overall sense of happiness and fulfillment. One simple way to start feeding your mind with gratitude is through a daily gratitude practice. Each day, take a few moments to reflect on the things you're grateful for. This could include anything from your health, your relationships, and your opportunities to small moments of joy like a beautiful sunset or a good cup of coffee. When you make gratitude a regular part of your life, you begin to train your mind to look for the good in every situation. This not only improves your mental health, but also increases your resilience as you begin to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. Another aspect of feeding your mind is focusing on your personal growth and development. The mind thrives when it's constantly challenged and engaged. If you stop learning and growing, your mind stagnates. To keep your mind sharp and your thinking expansive, make it a priority to invest in your personal growth. This can include reading books on topics that interest you, taking courses that develop your skills, attending seminars or workshops that challenge your thinking, or engaging in new hobbies or activities that push you out of your comfort zone. Personal growth isn't just about acquiring more knowledge, it's about expanding your perspective, overcoming your limitations, and becoming a better version of yourself. When you actively seek out new opportunities for growth, you are feeding your mind with the tools and experiences necessary to achieve your goals and create the life you want. Personal development also helps you become more self-aware, allowing you to identify areas where you can improve and take proactive steps toward positive change. One of the most effective ways to feed your mind is through visualization. Visualization is a technique that involves imagining yourself achieving your goals, living your ideal life, and experiencing success. When you visualize your future, you are programming your mind to focus on what's possible rather than what's limiting. The more vividly you can imagine your desired outcomes, the more your mind will begin to believe that they are achievable. Visualization helps you cultivate the belief that success is within reach, and it keeps you motivated to take consistent action toward your goals. In addition to visualizing your success, it's important to feed your mind with empowering beliefs. Our beliefs shape our reality. If you believe that success is out of your reach or that you aren't capable of achieving your dreams, you'll act accordingly. But when you choose to adopt beliefs that empower you, you create a mindset that attracts success. Start by identifying limiting beliefs you may have about yourself or your ability. These could be beliefs like, I'm not smart enough, I'm too old to change careers, or I'll never be successful. Once you've identified these beliefs, challenge them. Ask yourself, is this belief really true, or what evidence do I have that contradicts this belief? Then replace these limiting beliefs with new empowering ones. For example, you might replace I'm not smart enough with I am constantly learning and growing, or I can achieve whatever I set my mind to. By consciously feeding your mind with empowering beliefs, you create a foundation for success and abundance. Feeding your mind is not just about what you consume, but also about taking care of your mental well-being. Just like physical health, mental health requires regular attention and care. Engage in practices that reduce stress, calm your mind, and improve your mental clarity. Meditation, mindfulness, and deep breathing exercises are excellent tools for cultivating a calm and focused mind. These practices help you tune into your inner world, allowing you to release negative thoughts and emotions, and they improve your ability to focus on what truly matters. When you feed your mind with positive, empowering, and growth-oriented content, you set yourself up for success. You create an environment where your thoughts, beliefs, and actions align with your goals and your vision for your life. Just like feeding your body with nutritious food fuels your physical health, feeding your mind with empowering content and positive beliefs fuels your mental and emotional health. By intentionally feeding your mind, you take control of your thoughts, shape your reality, and move closer to becoming the best version of yourself. The power of discipline is often underestimated, yet it's one of the most critical factors that determine success in any area of life. Discipline is not about rigid control or punishment. It's about creating the habits, routines, and mental fortitude that enable you to consistently take the right actions even when you don't feel like it. It's about making the small decisions each day that lead to bigger, long-term achievements. Without discipline, your potential remains unrealized, but with it, you have the power to change the trajectory of your life and accomplish things you once thought were beyond your reach. One of the biggest misconceptions about discipline is that it's something that comes naturally to a select few people. We often look at successful individuals and think they're somehow different, more talented, more focused, or more disciplined. But the truth is, discipline is a skill that anyone can develop. It's not about being born with it. It's about consistently choosing to show up day after day and take action even when it's difficult. Just like any other skill, discipline requires practice. It's about training your mind to focus on the tasks that matter, resisting the distractions that lead you astray, and committing to doing what's necessary to achieve your goals. Discipline starts with clarity. If you don't know where you're headed, it's impossible to maintain discipline. The more specific and clear goals are, the easier it is to stay disciplined. Without a clear vision of what you want to achieve, it's easy to get distracted by short-term pleasures or obstacles that seem overwhelming. When you have clarity, every action you take becomes aligned with your larger goals. You have a sense of purpose that fuels your discipline, whether you're working toward building a successful career, achieving physical fitness, or mastering a new skill. Knowing exactly why you're doing it makes the hard work worth it. It creates a sense of direction and helps you stay on course when challenges arise. Once you have clarity, discipline requires consistency. Consistency is the key to building momentum. When you creating systems for success, consistently take action toward your goals, even in small ways, you begin to see progress, and progress, no matter how small, is a powerful motivator. It's easy to feel discouraged when you're not seeing immediate results, but consistency compounds over time. What might seem like a small effort today can lead to huge rewards in the future. For instance, committing to just 20 minutes of exercise a day might not seem like much, but over time, those 20-minute sessions add up to significant physical changes. The same principle applies to any area of your life. When you commit to showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, you begin to build the habits that will propel you toward your goals. However, consistency doesn't mean perfection. Discipline isn't about being flawless. It's about showing up even when you slip up. One of the biggest barriers to maintaining discipline is the fear of failure or making mistakes. When we mess up, we often think, I've blown it now, and give up entirely. But discipline is about the long game, not the occasional misstep. It's about getting back on track after you fall off. The key is to not let setbacks derail you completely. If you miss a day of your workout, don't let that turn into a week or a month of inaction. If you don't meet a deadline, don't throw in the towel and quit trying. Recognize the mistake, learn from it, and then continue with your plan. Discipline is the ability to stay committed despite the obstacles that arise and to keep moving forward, no matter how small the steps may be. Another important element of discipline is delayed gratification. In our modern world, we're surrounded by instant rewards and distractions. It's easy to get caught up in the desire for immediate pleasure or relief, whether it's checking your phone, indulging in junk food, or procrastinating on important tasks. But discipline is about the ability to resist short-term temptations in favor of long-term gain. It's about saying no to distractions so that you can say yes to your bigger goals. This is one of the hardest aspects of discipline, as the brain is wired to seek immediate rewards, but the more you practice delayed gratification, the easier it becomes. By learning to control your impulses and focusing on the bigger picture, you train your mind to stay disciplined and focused on what truly matters. Over time, this ability to delay gratification becomes a habit that supports your growth and success alongside delayed gratification. Discipline also involves managing your energy and focus. It's not just about working hard, it's about working smart. When you're disciplined, you understand the importance of prioritizing your time and energy. You know that not all tasks are created equal. Some tasks will move you closer to your goals, while others will drain your energy and hold you back. Discipline means knowing where to focus your attention. It means eliminating distractions and dedicating time to the things that truly matter. This is why it's so important to have clarity on your goals. When you know what you're working toward, you can more easily filter out the noise and stay focused on the actions that will get you there. For example, if you're building a business, you might be tempted to check your email constantly, scroll through social media, or get involved in irrelevant tasks. But true discipline means prioritizing the activities that have the biggest impact on your success, such as reaching out to clients, refining your product, or expanding your knowledge in your field to further sharpen your discipline. You must also cultivate self-control. Self-control is the ability to manage your emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, especially in difficult situations. It's about resisting the urge to act impulsively or to give in to negative emotions such as frustration, fear, or self-doubt. Building self-control requires awareness and practice. It involves recognizing when you're about to make a decision that will derail your progress and making a conscious choice to do something different. For instance, when you're tempted to procrastinate or make excuses, discipline means taking a moment to assess your decision and choosing to take the right action instead. The more you practice self-control, the stronger your discipline becomes. Part of building discipline also involves setting up systems and structures that support your goals. This means creating an environment that encourages positive habits and behaviors. If you want to develop the discipline to exercise every day, make it easier by setting out your workout clothes the night before, scheduling your workout time, or joining a fitness group for accountability. If you want to write a book, set a daily writing goal, create a dedicated writing space, and eliminate distractions during your writing time. Discipline thrives in an environment that is designed for success. The more you structure your environment to support your discipline, the easier it becomes to stick to your commitments and maintain focus on your music goals. It's also important to remember that discipline is not just about doing more, sometimes it's about doing less. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are limited resources and learning to say no to things that don't align with your goals. Discipline means saying no to distractions, to commitments that don't serve your larger vision, and to activities that drain your energy without contributing to your growth. By learning to set boundaries and focus on what matters most, you free yourself up to pour your energy into the areas that will make the biggest difference in your life. Ultimately, discipline is the bridge between your goals and your achievements. It's the daily commitment to showing up, staying focused, and taking the necessary actions to create the life you want. While motivation may fluctuate, discipline is what keeps you going even when motivation wanes. It's the inner strength that keeps you moving toward your dreams even when the path gets tough. By building discipline, you gain the ability to create lasting change in your life.